very interesting if we now randomly have a show match going on. No, they actually made it onto the Summoner's Rift. Great to see. Okay, quick recap, quick reminder, interesting things about this game. Qiyana jungle was drafted. I have no idea how that's going to work. And on the side of GAM, we have the Annie in the mid lane and the Ziggs, which is probably the counter to Draven. Those are at least my focus points for this game.
Yeah, a lot of lane counter slash lane neutralizers in this game. We have top lane, the Gragas counter pick into the Jax, which is mostly an LPL, I think LCK as well thing, where they just neutralize the lane, put a lot of pressure on Jax, and Jax can't really snowball the early game. We haven't seen too much of that in the VCS so far. Not a lot of Gragas in the top lane, but good to see Sunma actually coming in with this matchup prepared. Bot lane is just weird to me. Ziggs, Alistar, to me it just screams Xin is gonna leave lane at level 2 and never come back.
Oh. The AD carry betrayal. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Ziggs should be able to farm up a little bit on his own. And if Xin can actually make an impact on the solo lane sides, which have been looking good in the beginning for Box, but later on falling a bit off, that might be a way to accelerate the game even faster.
And it looks like this is going to be a really rough level 1 because it's Alistar. Alistar into Nautilus. We saw a lot of that in the last series, and the Nautilus won out big time. Alistar didn't ever really do anything until the team fights, but hopefully he gets through the laning phase a little bit more easily, and Xin at least needs probably level 3 to go on his merry roams and leave his style behind in lane.
It's just a waiting game. Don't make any mistakes early on to get the Draven already a little bit ahead. Play patiently and make sure that after level 2 and level 3, you can actually just farm up and contest those waves. Another thing I saw in the runes really quickly was Qiyana is actually running First Strike combined with Futures Market, which means you can actually get a very fast straight to Dirk or go for that lethality build. And that might be something that he wants to get used to a lot as well, because Qiyana likes to power farm a lot to get that gold rolling, but if you can gank with the Futures Market, that kind of balances things out a little bit.
Indeed, she's looking for her first opportunity, but it doesn't really seem possible when her bot lane is already under enemy tower, so you either go for a dive or you just keep farming. Qiyana used to be quite a strong ganking jungler. Oh, Party just missed that, unfortunate. But she also just excels around the early dragon fights and so on, especially around the river where everything stuns. Her ultimate just stuns all the time. But I'm not entirely sure what kind of style Qiyana is going to go for. Is she going to go heavy ganking or just farming into team fighting? Honestly, I have no idea about Qiyana jungle in the current state of the game.
I mean, she went the red smite as well, which is also something nobody ever does. I see a cleanse being used.
Xin.
It was the ignite being put down as well. Xin very low. As slow as she's just throwing those axes, asserting dominance.
Yeah, Alistar once again struggling heavily into the Nautilus matchup. And Flash already blown. He doesn't have Hex Flash.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's weird.
Yeah. Very defensive Alistar, so Xin now on the back foot. And this could now be a dive opportunity. Qiyana is returning. There's a good ward behind this tower, but here we go.
She has to stun. The wave needs to be thinned out as quick as possible, and Style manages to do that. With this last bit of mana, you make sure that the dive can't be pushed through.
Nice defense there. And on the other side, do we have the first gang of Levi? So far just full clearing, even invading in the enemy jungle. Taking away the Croc camp, as it looks like, already on 32 CS at 4 minutes on Lee Sin of all champions, so really power farming up a Storm, but so far unable to find his first opportunity for a gank.
Top lane also a small CS lead from the side of Jax, of course. Summer has a little bit of minions to farm up once again, but the top lane is being shoved in, which allows Levi to go for that invade and get that farm lead. Something we don't see an awful lot of, but hey, if you can make it work, it looks like it is, because they are 300 gold up ahead at this very point in time.
I'm sad to see him on Lee Sin when he's farming this efficiently, because that's not going to be put to use. We know he's an insane pathing jungler. His best champion of all time is Karthus, and he's the best Karthus I've ever seen, but yeah, he's up to a great start, and Tom Rio can't really ever fight this Lee Sin now, and at least in the near future, because he's already one level down. He lost all his camps on the top side. Look at the CS difference in the jungle position. That's a Lee Sin against Qiyana. They should be on even pace, but it's a big advantage for Lee Sin.
Does mean you need to force something, being the Qiyana, and Zodiac is moving already with him. placing deep vision in the jungle of GAM, hopefully stealing away this Crux before Levi gets there, but that's one more hit to get it.
Oh,
Okay,
he got hit!
Nice, he actually got hit, and he will get followed, can't get in the blast cone, dashes through him, and he gets over it towards the Drake, just in time, but the flash actually to chase after Unreal. Zin looking for more, as Zodiac is protecting his jungler, and then managed to get out by a slither of health.
Ooh, very close call. 2 flashes blown on the side of MBE. That counter invade might have been a little bit too far from Tomari. At least he gets the CS, but he's now once again behind in pathing and also on the level curve. Free Dragon for Lee Sin on the other side of the play, and slowly but surely GAM is getting incremental advantages on the map.
Qiyana had to reset there. GAM just pushing a little bit on the bot side to ascertain this prio over the Drake and getting the first objective of the game. That's been locked. Of course, Box tried to do something since Levi had counter-jungled everything, so they needed to make an impact. But they're lucky they got away with what they did, because if they lose that kill there as well, it's looking very rough for the Qiyana to get back in this game.
Yeah, it does. Qiyana already looking a little bit like a failed experiment, but holding out judgment so far, at least until she's level 6 and might be able to actually play for the dive in bot lane. Speaking of dive in bot lane, Slows is still looking to get his first cash in.
Cash on hit. Oh, actually, a good satchel back. But isn't going to do that much yet. But it goes to show what Box is trying, right? They're trying to get Draven just a little bit ahead, keep on trading, because now you could punish it possibly. You see Rice moving down as well. Same goes for Qiyana. But every time they're moving, it feels like GAM is prepared and have set up things so that it's really hard to actually pull off that dive.
Look at this hero ward there, it just disappeared, but it saw all the movement from MBE, and now Tom Rio, he doesn't have flash. That's a dangerous position to be in. He's under perfect information for GAM. They want to counter. No, it seems like Lee Sin is just going to counter invade on the top side, because he has much better pressure around the solo lanes on the top side of the map, so Lee Sin already at the enemy red buff.
Once again, just countering the jungle of Box instead, rather than preventing a dive or trying to go for a 3v3. It works because Draven got yet another play down in the bot lane as well, so you're not really getting that big of a lead, but on the other hand, it keeps the game even. Is this what you want to see from GAM, or would you want to see them more proactive in a way?
I'm in two minds about it. They used to be the super proactive, super strong early game team, but it seems like those days have passed. They are much more disciplined, much more how to call it, let's say, chill? I don't know. they just don't really go for many plays anymore in the early game. They're content to just scale up. I don't expect them to do anything in the bot side. To be fair, they have Ziggs and Alistair, so they shouldn't really look for any plays there. But would like to see the level 6 put to use from Levi, Kiaya, and Kati. They don't want to give up this first objective of the game. Here we come.
They have an LCK Herald 5-man, but a great knock-up. The Pulverize is already there, and Kiaya follows up. Can't find the first blood, but Levi is the one that does. And Box is being pushed off of the Rift Herald, but the fight is still going on. 4 members staying strong, want to keep going. As Katie is just being a hell of annoying on the backline, but Kiaya is the one who actually gets a kill. Tom Rio dies, Silver tries to get one in return. Root is found, and Nugu gets one. Levi over the wall with the kick, but it doesn't go into the Rise, It doesn't connect. And then Style can just style on the opponents with yet another kill.
Oh, it's complete disaster in the Herald fight. They might have just lost the game there in one play. Nothing happened for 8 minutes. And then MBE opts for the suboptimal fight. Zin wasn't even level 6. He still walks away alive as Alistair level 5. He's barely a champion, and still GAM just win on all fronts. They get the objective. They get a 3-1 kill trade. They reset slow stacks as well. He died at the tail end of the fight there. Everything going horribly wrong. And if you take a look at this fight setup again, I don't actually hate what they're doing here, especially with the Qiyana combo. Everyone is stunned there, but there's no damage to follow up. They are lacking that big AoE mid lane or even ADC follow up on those big stuns, and nothing really happens. Everyone is stunned for a second for GAM, but yeah, afterwards they can just chase them down. Good flash from Kiaya. He does go down in the end, kill to Nugu, the only consolation prize, but it's just not enough. Everyone falling down on the side of MBE.
This is what I promised though. 8 minutes in the game and we have a full-on 5v5 on the top side of the map. I absolutely love it. But I feel like the trigger could have been pulled a little bit faster on the side of MBE. That could have changed the outcome of it. But unfortunately for them, they are now looking towards a 1.5k deficit. It's definitely something you can still get back from, especially with the scaling you have. You have a lot of damage possibilities, engage possibilities as well, but you really need to try to make something work at this point, because if all those efforts go to waste like they are doing now, it's looking really tough to climb out of this hole.
And with Qiyana hitting level 6, hitting that beautiful ultimate, displaying her talent appropriately, and nothing coming of it, that is a big damper. Their expectations, they're firmly on the back foot now. GAM can even grow this lead that they got from the fight with the Rift Hold, employ it in top or mid lane to get even more platings out of there. So GAM now in a very dominant position in the game, and MBE, for the first time in this split, having to play from behind.
Behind in the game, but it's not yet, like we said as well. And with the Rift Herald that's being put down by GAM in a little bit, I'm actually curious as to where they will put it down. Of course, with the Ziggs, you always need to keep in mind, Ziggs Satchel combined with Herald could make sure you get those 18-minute victories, what we were talking about. That's something I am very scared of every time I see it. It's hard to pull off, especially since now on the bot side, it isn't the mid lane champion at this specific game. But it's definitely something you need to take into account. Otherwise, you might lose 1 or 2 towers with one single push.
Yeah, and the dive is insane. They have Annie, they have Lisa, and they could really pull the trigger on some of those dives later on if they get even farther ahead. But I don't think the game is in a state where you can really expect an 18-minute victory, and GAM really doesn't have to go for it. Gone are the days where a GAM would push and over-push for their advantages. They are a much more disciplined team now. They are trying to play more international meta. We saw a lot of that already in Worlds, where this team really didn't look like one of the old VCS teams. Played much more standard style, and fell down to some of the early game disadvantages, actually, and instead of what they used to be in terms of VCS craziness in the early game. So I don't really expect them to pull the trigger too hard. They probably just scale comfortably to the late game and win in about 28 minutes.
Okay, I'm actually curious as to why they've changed their ways. Could it be that, like you said, they try to match their level to the international scene of play? Maybe they think they can't get away with it anymore. What do you think the reasoning is for this a more controlled version of GAM, I would say?
So I think it all started with Carti coming to GAM, because Carti in 2020, he was on Flash. Flash was the disciplined team, and Flash won against GAM in back-to-back finals with this team-fighting, solid late-game playstyle with tanks in the top lane, hard carries in the bot lane, Slayer, Carti together. And yeah, they won 2 5-game series, 3 5-game series even, and ever since then, I think GAM got into this mindset that we can probably still win VCS with just our hands and just our insane talent on the team, the best top side of all time, especially after acquiring Carti. But can we really do more than that? And slowly but surely, over the course of the last 2 years, they've gotten slower and slower, especially when it comes to how they approach the game, not so much how they execute. It's more, we don't actually look for crazy fights in the early game anymore. We don't actually go for 50-50 plays on every objective. We take it slowly, we know we're going to win most situations, and the early games have changed dramatically. I think mid and late game, they still have that second engage sense, that sixth sense that when they know when to snap and go for the engage, but especially the early game has changed drastically.
So just with the acquisition of one player of Kati, the whole identity seems to have shifted a little bit.
It took a little time. It wasn't instant. It wasn't like Kati joined and they instantly changed their style. It was slowly but surely they transitioned from this super aggressive individual agency team that never drafted team fight to this more solid, generalistic team.
Yeah, but okay, before we were talking about this, you sounded like you had a little bit of mixed feelings. You are happy that they are doing this, but on the other hand, I feel like you kind of miss those ways.
Oh, I do miss it. I do miss the craziness. You can't believe what GAM sometimes did in 2019 and 2020. It was absolutely crazy. Watch back some of those finals against Flash. It's a treat, I can assure you. And yeah, they used to go for some absolutely crazy picks, some crazy plays. Shyvana AP was played about 10-12 times by Levi, was one of his most played champions, and we had the Shyvana KEKW moments in VCS all the time. So it was a crazier time. Now VCS seems to be a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more in line with all the other leagues, which is probably a good sign for the region, but it's not quite as exciting sometimes. Sometimes I miss my old VCS, I have to admit.
we're all nostalgic about a lot of things lately, I have to admit. But like you said, if it's improving, we can only look at the bright side of it. As MBE is looking towards this Drake, but they are a little bit scared because they see the teleport coming in from, let's see, from Ziggs, of course, because the AD carry has the teleport as well. And if you have the Setzer on the Herald, which we were talking about, you might actually go for this push.
Yeah, and GAM once again grouping up very solidly. It's hard to penetrate their team composition with so much disengaged. Alistar can kick them away, Lee Sin can kick them away, even Ziggs has an ability to kick someone away, so how do you even get close to these champions? We probably need to set up a little bit of a flanking setup in team fights for MBE, where Tom Rio comes from one side and then Nugo maybe teleports Zodiac to the other side, because I feel like if you just run at GAM and their composition, you'll never get close to their carries.
Up close and personal is what they want to do, and once again MBE goes towards the Dragon. This time GAM doesn't necessarily have the priority in the mid lane as everything is even, but when the teleport comes in, that indicates a fight. Levi goes over the wall with the blast cone. They have taken control up until this point.
And I think MBE is relinquishing their control over this river a little too easily, especially if you consider we have one of the best river abilities in the game. Tom Rio needs to be careful.
Zin, he's going with the blast cone over. Can he find a multiple target? No, he cannot.
Ooh,
just
beautiful.
Play of talent. Knocks everyone away.
Very nice interruption there. You don't really ever see Qiyana ultimate used defensively, but that was the perfect timing from Tom Rio knocking away the engage. But in the end, if you step back and look at what actually happened here, it was still a GAM win. They still got the Dragon for almost free, they forced MBE members back, and this feels powerless from MBE's side.
GAM's not done yet. The only positive thing, the takeaway you can have here from MBE, they didn't invest any summoner spells, so they can't really be punished there either, as Slows is slowly but surely getting flashback as well. I believe I might actually be looking for more. He still has his kick, and they're going for the dive. The double stun is being found, and Kazi with a great stun follow up the kick as well. But there's the teleport. Summer trying to help his team where he can. Levi is slowed, but the focus of the tower is on Tibbers. That's not what you want to focus on. Please, as Summer goes on. Levi, can he just get away from this? Or are the cooldowns of Summer enough? Gordrinker heals
Levi's crazy!
Ooh, almost got it. It was a good effort. A valiant one. Close enough.
For a second there, Levi had me fooled. I thought he was actually, he knew something I didn't, because at the start of that duel, it didn't look possible at all. Wow, we completely missed this one. When did this happen?
That was a very interesting rise, though. Well, they rooted him down, and I think Sal would just perish here, yeah? A good kill in return found by MBE.
And suddenly we had 9 kills. It happens quite a bit in the VCS that we play very disciplined, then a pause happens, then everyone gets bored and everyone just goes for the kills. It's a phenomenon that needs to be scientifically investigated, because it does happen quite often. But now we have another invade. This is so aggressive from the side from MBE. They're behind, and they're still going for these aggressive invades. It's not really paying off for them, though.
Well, it goes to mention, if you look at Tom Rio with the Qiyana, she has the Eclipse now completed. It's actually not behind in levels either anymore. The CS is getting even once again. It does look like he found himself back into the game a little bit after those shenanigans.
Yeah, and if they get a payout for slows, okay, actually his stacks got reset once again, as we unfortunately go to Sepia Rift once more, and Zin has left the game. Zin, don't do that. Stay in the game, please. I know playing Alistar is horrible, but still, you should not leave the game. That's
style as well. The bot lane is just like, hey, you know what? The Draven lane isn't really that fun anymore.
They're protesting their coach's draft because, well, they had to play Ziggs Alistar together into Draven Nautilus.
Oh. So boring. But like you said, hey, if this pause goes away again, within 2 minutes we have another 5v5, right? That's what I'm expecting right now.
Yeah, maybe that's what we need to accelerate the VCS. Just pause every 2 minutes so everyone gets bored and just goes for the next fight. But in all seriousness, MBE fighting back valiantly, but I feel like they're always going for immediate plays. They can see something on the screen, but they never plan ahead. It seems to me like they can never see the next 2 minutes. They can only see what's a screenshot of the current situation on the map, right? So yeah. They might be able to punish an overextended member. They might be able to punish an over-aggressive dive like we saw there, but they don't really seem to be able to plan a nice, cohesive play where they set up the vision, then they come from different angles and so on. That's what I'm missing from this team, and hopefully they can show me something new in this game.
Do you think the Dragon is like a prime example of that? Because 2 times in a row, they start the Drake, but 2 times in a row, they get pushed away after 10 seconds of standing there uncomfortably. Is that like the lack of prep seeing in future as well?
Yeah, and also a little bit of indecisiveness, right? Because their composition is not really designed to just stare at the enemy and slowly but surely choke them out of a choke point. That's exactly what GAM wants to do, right? With Alistair, with Ziggs especially, but even Annie likes to threaten those choke points, so maybe it's also composition, but I feel like if MBE is first to the Dragon, maybe they should just engage. But it seems like they're indecisive, they're not assertive enough to really play their game. As we see Sunmer, he's somewhere, and Kati...
Definitely assertive, dashes over the wall and finds a lot of CC, but Levi gets one in return. Draven slows, gets with the axis, but here is the top laner, Kiaya, finding one onto Tomrio. Levi going in, the follow-up engages are everywhere on the side of GAM, and now they can just slowly back off, back to the Herald.
And it was a nice idea once again, but they're just lacking the damage, it seems like. Once again, we had Tom Rio with perfect positioning around all those choke points where his ultimate goes over across the whole map and hits everyone, but then no one does anything with the stuns, so we're just lacking the damage right now. MBE desperately needs more items on their 2 main carries to follow up on these very decent Tom Rio engages. I think the ideas they're having around all these fights is actually quite solid, but the execution not quite there.
And look at the portal use as well, right? The flank setup was pretty good here.
Yeah, it's really nice. They hit everyone there. Once again, Tom Rio's ultimate, but look at Slow's damage on Xin. Yes, it's Alistair with an ultimate, but still, you expect a little bit more from your Draven in the mid-game. And Nugu as well on the rise, just not enough range to really hit these targets consistently. It's a little unfortunate that Tom Rio is putting in so much work to set up the fights, but his carries can't do anything with that setup.
One more hit and Slows would have gotten yet another cash out. Is now on 101 stacks. Not an awful lot, but every little bit helps at this point because you want to get to the 2-3 item spike. Going with the pickaxe already, but that's far away from the second item. Now the BF sword, which indicates either a Bloodthirster or an Infinity Edge. We've seen both come up quite a lot. Really depends on the game state, but it's looking like solid options for him either way.
No mythic item, but that's not too surprising on Draven. Sometimes we see second item mythic, sometimes we see third item mythic. It's a mix there. It's not super crucial for this champion, but what is crucial for him is to get a cash out, because he's not the greatest champion if you just scale equally. That's not what he's designed to do, as the dragon just goes down with no attempt. Oh, am I lying?
Well,
MBE is trying to get somewhere.
You are definitely lying, because Tal is being locked down. Another great ultimate, but he's not dead quite yet. One more hit would do the trick, as Levi is looking to go back in. Flash over the wall. Double knock-up once again. And Nuka just trying through the damage on the backside. Look at Sunmer. Can't go over the wall quite yet. Doesn't have his cask. Flash forward. He rooted in place. And now MBE can follow up. Katie is being put down, but double kill for the cow. How does he do it? Xin once again finding his marks everywhere.
And they're lacking the damage again. Where's the damage? Nugu is just not able to keep up with the pace of GAM. And every single fight, it looks like MBE has a nice angle. They have a good approach to the fight, but then they're just lacking the damage to walk it home. It's a really unfortunate game to watch from the MBE side of things. I like that they're trying to do things. I like that they're not rolling over and just giving GAM everything, but just not really finding success in any of these attempts.
They find that initial pick, but they have to invest so much for it, like 2 or 3 ultimates to get down style. And when the fight rather, goes longer and longer, yeah, you can see that you really miss those tools, and then they can't really finish off the job.
Yeah, and that's now third dragon over to GAM. They're comfortably looking at a fourth dragon snowball. They're ahead by 4k, all their champions are getting scaling very nicely. Jax is strong, Annie's getting stronger. Even the Ziggs is now in a good position, and the Alistair, with the 2 kills, is actually deceptively tanky now in those next upcoming fights. It's dwindling away, the game is moving further and further out of reach of MBE.
Memphis now as well. Kati is being found though by 3 members of MBE, but they just don't take damage. Only half HP is gone, and look at the HP bar of Slows.
Oh, no.
Just for the Ziggs ultimate. No Leandries, it's Saludens, otherwise he might have burned down.
I actually wanted to see Levi go to Zodiac and kick Zodiac at Slows to see if he can execute him, but instead they're playing it safe. Once again, That's another tower. That's a charge and a Ziggs. Ziggs doesn't have his W available right now, but if they keep on pushing, his W might come up, and that might be another tower. Yep.
Definitely will. One more hit. They just wait around
There
a
it
bit for the
is.
coolers to come back up. Look at Kiana, Nugu is stuck in place, but the depth charge gets Levi away from the situation. I don't think MBE wants to fight, but they think something else. Zin with another great pulverize. They need to kite back for their life, but Kiana is just free hitting everyone this game. It feels like every time he shows up, the game gets changed, and Zodiac face palms into Levi, and he gives him a good kick to the face.
Yeah, it just doesn't look playable anymore. I think MBE is too far behind. They needed a little bit of a snowball on the bot side to make this composition come together. I like the idea of Tom Rios Kiana. I actually have been quite impressed with his setups around some of the objective fights, but it's just the follow-up that's lacking, and the range is not there. We have Draven and Dryce, so two of the shortest ranged main carries of a team you could ever choose, and into the Ziggs, into the Annie. They just can't step up. It looks pretty horrific to play from this position, and now it's more a case of can GAM close out cleanly? Can they go from objective to objective, secure the soul, and then just walk this game home? Because MBE's chances are very slim.
And on the side of GAM, everyone is leaving the game once again. Hopefully, those issues get resolved on their end, because it probably isn't really fun to every time we get out of the game, get back in, trying to keep that focus, trying to keep that mental once again, because you want to finish this game out cleanly as fast as possible, right?
Yeah, I'm very sorry for your first ever cast on the VCS English channel. You have to deal with these pauses over and over again. To be fair, it is kind of what you signed up for, because this is a quintessential VCS.
It was in the contract. I signed it. It's fine.
Well, but as I said before, I think this game is looking rather hard to play and come back for MBE. Looking ahead, maybe for the next game, I would like to see them go with a little bit more consistency, especially for the two main carries. I think if you have a Caitlyn here or an Aphelios, maybe even just an Orianna or Victor, just a little bit more range, a little bit more threat range to counteract all those engages from the Annie. Maybe you have a better chance, because it's so frustrating to see all the supportive cast set up those team fights for the carries and then no one being able to hit anything. So I hope that's the approach they take for game number 2.
I think Draven isn't necessarily bad in this team composition. Personally, I think I have question marks with the Rise, right? Because that takes an awful long time to really scale up. So perhaps that could have been a difference maker, or they should have just, I say should have, because they definitely tried. We must give some credit to GAM here as well, because they tried to set up things in the bot lane. Ryze and Kiana were looking for roams, trying to invade, but every time they did, GAM just knew beforehand, because they set everything up and they just walked away. They just don't give anything away.
Oh, definitely. GAM just playing a super solid game. Nothing really to write home about, like no exceptional outplay or any huge solo kill streak or whatever you really want to praise, but just a solid macro game, consistent from start to finish, no big mistakes, just playing lane very solidly in all 3 lanes, honestly. Carti just going equal in CS, and top lane even winning for Yaya in a rough matchup. A lot of people lose that matchup as Jax into the Gragas, so bot lane just doing exactly what they were picked for, not conceding any kills. It would look a little dicey in the very first few looks in the bot lane, the very first few trades, but they stabilized the bot lane as well. Levi has been winning in jungle, so there's really nothing you can complain about. It's not a very exciting game to talk about for GAM fans. It's not one of those level 6 Nocturne in the bot lane games, right? But it is a good game. It is certainly a very solid performance from this team.
Yeah, and one of the players that we don't see an awful lot this game, because the action is mostly around the bot side of the middle of the map, but Kaya actually having a great game, like you said, in the laning phase, he's doing well. But every team fight I've seen so far, there's randomly a Jax flank while the fight is already 5 seconds underway, and he gets to clean up those kills to make sure those members are dead. They can't do anything else in the fight anymore, and that's actually one of the biggest reasons why they managed to win those big team fights.
Yeah, it's good to see. I don't know if you know, but Kiaya is my favorite player of all time in VCS, so I'm always Kiaya biased. But Jax is not really a champion I would associate with him. Back in the days, it was always the Zeros champion. I remember vividly the very first final I ever cast with Carrix in 2019. Back in the day when Zeros was the best top laner. He played Jax, he got a quadra kill, and this was more the coated and Zeros champion. So seeing Kiaya step up on this Jax pick that is omnipresent in the meta right now is a really good sign. And yeah, I agree with you. He had some really nice teamfight awareness, flash stunning someone at the end of the River teamfight, if I remember correctly, to secure one more kill. So it's just a good showing from almost all of the players.
A little bit like we expected to see as well, but it's good that they can actually prove that they're doing that. Well, we have to wait for a little bit until the next game starts, but actually, let's talk about that second game. Just if everything goes the way we expect it to go right now, GAM will probably close out this game winning. What do we want to see differently? Perhaps even what does need to change for MBE to really have a fighting chance in the next possible fight, or the next possible game?
Yeah, good question. I hope MBE has a better answer to that than I do, but I feel like you just need to eliminate some of the volatility, but not all of it, because if you go in with no volatility, I don't think you have any fighting chance. So maybe they just go for another shot. Maybe they just say, okay, we need the Draven, we need the Rice to have this possibility of snowballing over what GAM brings as in terms of like skill floor, because you have to hit a certain level of play to beat this very consistent GAM, and maybe you just try to spike with some champions. I don't hate the Draven. I actually think the Draven is a fine choice. I agree with you that the Rice is maybe the biggest problem with their composition, so I would try to put Nugu on a more long-range, better choke control champion that doesn't rely so much on getting close, getting in there, and fighting against the likes of Annie. So maybe that's the number one approach. I actually really like the Kiana pick, so I would like to see that one again. Just throw yourself at GAM. It's probably only something like a 5%, 10% chance, but you never know. Sometimes GAM rolls really badly and int a little bit too much. That can happen all the time.
So, everyone can lose. There's no team that, like, I think, honestly, when is the last time a team had a perfect split? The only thing I can think about right away is Fnatic with the perfect 18-0 split. And I'm pretty sure T1 either lost last year, like one of their final series or the final game. Otherwise, they had a perfect split as well. It goes to show that everything is always possible, even though the chances are extremely slim at times, and they feel extremely slim. You always have something worth fighting for. I actually want to find that out now. When was the last time we had a perfect split?
So T1 did go 18-0, but of course in series, not in game score, right? So they didn't have the perfect game score. They did have the perfect series score. The last time we had a perfect game score, I think, is actually 2015 Fnatic. There might have been one or two splits where we had something like that in the PCS. I believe there was something like a 28-game winning streak at one point. Wow. For one of the PCS teams. In VCS, we had a 14-0 split. We have one. We had multiple 13-1 splits, but I don't think we ever had a 14-0 split. There was always one series, the very last series actually, in the one split that Cerberus won, Winter 2021. They were 13-0, and then they lost the last series. They were on track for the 14-0, and then just lost the last one.
Do you remember against which team that was?
Yeah, it was what were they called? One of my favorite teams.
Then you should know what they are called.
They left the league very swiftly afterwards. They were only good for one split. Police's team, Armina's team. Chat probably knows. I can't remember their name.
Chat knows. Let us know, chat. I see FTV.
That was earlier. FTV was way earlier. I'm talking 2021 spring. Winter, I mean. 2021 winter, they were...
I'm doing the research.
Almina, Rika... Percent? Was it Percent? BTS? I think it was BTS, yeah. Burst the Sky, right. Burst the Sky is the team.
Burst the Sky Esports, yeah.
Burst the Sky. They've kind of disappeared afterwards, but that was their one good split. And Almina, their ADC, looked really good. But I think we probably should throw it to a short little break, because that's what the official stream has done as well. And we know when the official stream goes to a break, we might be here for a while. So don't want to burn you out this quickly. So unfortunately, we have another tech break. Hopefully, it gets resolved quickly. We have to say the official stream has been really, really good about those after day 1. So don't go away. Shouldn't take too long. We have 3 minutes on the timer. See you soon.
And we are immediately getting back into the game. We found it out. I don't know what we found out, but we found something out, which means we're back.
Yep, here we go. Back into the game, and it's still looking really bad for MBE, but let's talk about it a little bit from the GAM side. We had some interesting new experimentational picks, especially looking at the Ziggs in the bot lane. Not really something Style likes to play too much. Style is really the traditional ADC. He's very good on all those ADC champions, but Ziggs, a little bit of a different look, so I'm not sure if GAM is just calling out MBE and saying, well, we can play whatever we want against you, or if this is a style they want to continue with later.
Well, Zodiac is finding himself in a bit of a pickle here. Sonreal once again finding good ultimate, but he just can't do anything with it because his team is once again not there to back him up. And then GAM just takes it over. 2 kills already. The third one almost gets there, but Slows is just not strong enough to do anything in return.
And every single time we come out of the pause, immediately afterwards there's a team fight, and every single time, unfortunately for MBE, it's a team fight that GAM wins. Every single fight in this game has been in went in GAM's favor, I should say. And now we're really just looking at the tail end of the game. They're gonna secure the Baron at 24 minutes. Look at the Dragon timer over there. 1 minute and 30 seconds. So that Baron is gonna transition very nicely into a soul fight. If Box even tries to fight the soul, I'm not so sure about that one, but yeah, all the hope is gone. And we're probably just talking about the next game on Box's side.
Right, let's look how this happened though, because Zodiac did get a little bit caught here, and yeah, on the side of MBE, you just don't have the people in the right places.
Yeah, and it seems like Box didn't really think Zodiac would die there. He was just walking around his own jungle going, yeah, okay, the Lee Sin is annoying me, but I can just walk away. But GAM chased him down, got another 2 kills, and that's the easiest Baron setup of all time. So there's really not much to say about this game anymore, unfortunately. But if you're MBE in this position, what would you say? What do you change for the next game?
Okay. I actually think that Simmer has had a couple of good engages. I don't think the Gragas was a wrong thing at all. It's also something they flexed because some Rio played it in the jungle. But the prio there, I think that's what GAM is thinking as well. You know what? We already gave him a little bit of a taste for next game because the Gragas isn't going anywhere. Will go down. Slows being kicked away into the face of the cow, and he just slaps him in the face. You ain't going anywhere, friend.
It's a little bit of a horror show for MBE fans. Just close down the screen, come back in 10 minutes because it's gonna get better for your team. Unfortunately, yeah, this is far from playable, and Zin actually having such a good time. Look at his scoreline.
He has the most kills of the game.
This is support wonderland for the Alistar. I was flaming Alistar the last 2 years all the time, the champion, not the player. And look at what Alistar can do. Full tank and 5 and 1. Actually, it's quite a bit of damage with that slap he called out onto Slows.
Simmer goes golden, but pretty low. And look at Slows. Just being pushed away, being pushed back in. He's just like a ball in the game.
Slows, a really unfortunate showing. I think Slows is... all of these players we see for the first or almost first time. We saw one game of Tom Rio, one series of Tom Rio, I believe, last split, where he actually walked away with the victory. So we know a bit about Tom Rio. He was on GAM for quite a bit of time. They tried to bring him up as the new jungler in the case that Levi would leave. He didn't. So now Tom Rio has a new home. It's good to see him in the league, but he, of course, is not quite on the level of the other VCS junglers yet. I still think it's a decent showing. The other members of the team, I think Nugu is holding his own quite well into the VCS mid laners. Slows is the one concern, and by extension, Slows and Zodiac. We already know Zodiac. He has been a VCS player for a long time, and he has never impressed me too much. So this bot lane, especially considering how strong of a position bot lane is in VCS, is my main concern for this team now after watching 3 games of theirs.
Yeah, and it's so important everywhere. Everybody seems to keep playing around that bottom side, and definitely goes to show how much attention you should pay to it. It's looking like GAM is going for yet another push now on the top side. Kiaya is joining once again as well. Slowly but surely, having pushed away in the mid lane, which means GAM can translate again. It's Rio with the ultimate, but it doesn't really come of anything, and it's an important cooldown wasted.
And in the meantime, we didn't even talk about it because it's so The game is so over anyway. They secured a nice little soul, and it's Hextech
yeah.
soul, so now Annie can slow you and do lightning stuff and so on, and you just die to 1 Tibbers at this point, most likely. So it's really... Actually, the gold lead doesn't look that devastating. It's only 8k, but look at the team fighting.
Zin goes in for the dive as the teleport from Kiana is being pushed in. Tower goes down quite fast, and then you can just flash forward with the Tibbers. Kati finding the targets that he wants, and that will most surely end this game. Nuka goes golden, but he will only get a silver prize as his team can't stand up to the prowess of GAM.
Nicely done, GAM. Everyone fought each other for the kills, so in the end, Zin walks away with the most kills of the game on their team, unless they can get another one on chasing down Zodiac, but he seems to be escaping.
Just with the satchels getting down those towers, and Tom Rio is the one left standing, looking how his base gets destroyed, and that will mean that with the 3 passes, GAM will still go up 1-0 in this series.
That they will. A lot of pauses plagued this game, but if you